How's it going, guys? Welcome back to episode 14. And I can't believe it's been 14 episodes. I know I feel like I said that every week, but I can't believe it's been 14. This is our 14th episode of my Marathon Training 2 series. This week, we have a very exciting look back as well as a very exciting look forward. We completed the first week of my new training plan, and we had something happen that has not happened, I think, at all yet this year, and definitely is very exciting to me, as well as some accidental stat adage that we'll cover as well. But let's go ahead, jump on into this week's episode of my Marathon Training 2 series. What's up, guys? I'm Dakota. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to episode 14 of my Marathon Training 2 series. As I mentioned in the introduction, we have a very exciting week to recap, as well as a very fun quote of the week that I think is very timely, as they always are. As I also mentioned, something happened this week that had not happened in a long time, and I think it is a combination of starting a new plan and just feeling actually pretty good for once. So we'll cover that as well. We're not going to beat around the bush too long. I just want to say thank you for coming back to my channel and watching this latest edition of my series. But for now, let's jump over to the calendar. Let's get this thing going, because I'm very excited to cover the first week of my new training plan and the results that I had. Welcome back to the calendar. This is where the magic happens and where we get to do some math and look at some numbers, as well as I get to talk briefly about each run. So let's go ahead and jump in to this week's looking back segment. As I mentioned, and have mentioned many times, both in the previous episode and earlier in this episode, this was the first week of my new training plan. My new training plan being my goal of running a marathon in under 4.5 hours. And so this is the first week that we had where we're following that plan. And it was already very different. And if you remember from my previous videos, my normal running cadence had been run on Tuesdays, run on Thursdays, run on Saturday, and then Sunday. So I'd have rest days on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then the other days I would run. So it'd be 4 on, 3 off. This week already has thrown it out of the wheelhouse. So this week we had a Monday run. It went Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. Very different. Having the 2 rest days back to back was definitely different, but in the end I think I liked it. Not that we're going to have them too often or even a regular schedule from what it looks like so far, as we'll cover when we take a look ahead. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look. Monday, first day of the training plan, 2 miles easy. Yeah. So 2.01 miles, 9 minutes and 44 seconds per mile, or mioli. I do not claim to be a spelling expert. And then 19 minutes and 34 seconds in total. This is 2 miles. Yeah, as you'll see later in the week, or if you can already tell, if those of you who have looked ahead, I don't always like to do 2 miles correctly, or even sometimes 3 miles correctly. I looked at it as a chance to refocus and to commit myself to following the training plan and being prepared for each run individually. So 2.01 miles, 9 minutes, 44 seconds per mile. Took it nice and easy. I got out and I did the run. That moves us into Wednesday, where we have 3 miles easy. And I think this is where I kind of harked back to my old Saturday runs, where a lot of those were 3 to 4 miles. So 3.01 miles, 9 minutes and 39 seconds per mile, 29 minutes and 3 seconds total. This is, once again, 3 miles. It was nice and easy. It was a chance to get out and get moving without the stress of doing anything too crazy or too long. And so it was another chance to get out, practice being focused for a run, and going out and hitting the goals that I wanted. And now Thursday, and here's where something happened where it hasn't happened, I don't think, this year, and definitely has not happened a lot, where So to put a little backstory into this one, I woke up late this day and I had just a rough start, so I wasn't able to run it in the morning like I normally did, and so this was an after work run where, for whatever reason, the stars aligned where the weather wasn't too bad, so it wasn't hot, or it wasn't as hot. The sun wasn't necessarily out. It was pretty overcast, which probably helped with the heat. And I just felt surprisingly good, to where as I was getting dressed and changed to go on my run, I kept having the thought of, man, I kind of don't want to only do 2 miles. I kind of want to do something a little longer. And so I actually went out with the idea of minimum of 2 miles, obviously, because that's the run. But I would run basically until I kind of felt like stopping. Basically, I wanted to give myself the option to keep running if I was enjoying it, and to stop at any point. And it was the first time that I had gone out with the idea of, you can run exactly as far as you want, no more, no less, and just go, see how it feels, and then once it's over, it's over. I ran on a day where I was supposed to run 2 miles, had marathon pace, basically 10.5 minutes per mile. I ran 5.27 miles, so just over 5.25 miles, with an average pace of 9 minutes and 15 seconds, with a total time of 48 minutes and 51 seconds. Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. I ran, almost about 3.25 miles farther than I was supposed to, and felt actually about the same, I think, as I would have if I had only run 2 miles. I just took off, and it was somewhat liberating to not worry about ending up back near my apartment, or trying to weave my way in and out of streets to extend the distance, to make the distance. I actually took off on my normal 6-7+ mile route, and actually did that up to the point where I kind of decided that, I'm feeling pretty good, and then ended up decided calling it quits before walking back home. And so I think the idea of going out on my longer run, or like I mentioned, my 6-7+ miles route, really helped to keep me, loose, and helped keep me like, I'm just running at this point. And as soon as I crossed actually 2 miles, it was very liberating. It was a very like weight off the shoulders kind of feeling, where everything from then on was just because I wanted to. It was not for anybody else. It was 100% just for me, because I wanted to go out and I wanted to run. And I think it really honestly helped me. It helped keep things in perspective, that the foundation of all of this is that running is enjoyable. Running is time to get out, to do it because you enjoy it, not because you have to. And while I wouldn't be doing this training if I didn't like it, it is always nice every once in a while to take that step back and remember that, being able to get out and run is very freeing and very liberating. And to remember those feelings is a very important part of the process. And this was the first instance where I really, really just had fun, and it was great. So that's all I'll say right now for then. Hopefully this is something that happens more, if possible. I haven't looked too far ahead into this plan, so I don't know how many opportunities there are for something like this. But maybe even on a rest day where I feel like getting out and moving around, maybe I'll find the time to get out and do that. But that's neither here nor there. We still have one run from this week to talk about, and that would be Sunday, where it was 6 miles with a goal of in 70 minutes. What ended up happening was I ran 6 miles in about a little over 55 minutes. And so actually what happened here, and you can tell by my note, which has been very helpful for me, is that when I stopped, I was still, about a 10+ minute walk away from home. And so what I normally do is I'll stop the run, lock my phone, put it in my pocket. And sometimes what happens is my phone will open in my pocket, and then it'll just click around through screens and stuff. And so what actually happened is I put my phone in my pocket, and I used Strava to record my runs, and it accidentally restarted Strava in my pocket. So it actually recorded, almost a little over a half a mile of walking, which kind of really messed with the stats. It added about 10 minutes to the total time and about 0.6 miles to my total distance. I couldn't remember my actual time, so I decided just to keep it in there because it was better than guessing, and this is some concrete numbers that I can see. It obviously messed with my total distance, pace, and total time, but it is what it is. Not everyone's going to be perfect, and I think I took a cue from my Thursday run. It was like, not everything needs to be pinpoint accurate, and you can be a little off here or there. And so even with the extra 10 minutes of running out onto the end, I traveled 6.59 miles with an average pace of 9 minutes and 52 seconds per mile, and a total time of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 10 seconds. The pace, I think, is honestly probably about right. It probably would squeeze closer to 9.5 minutes per mile if it had been, the normal pace, or maybe even a little faster. But, that's neither here nor there either. And I'm not taking it too seriously. And, sometimes that's just kind of what you have to do. So looking at our weekly totals, 16.88 miles with an average pace of 9 minutes and 37 seconds per mile. That is including the 9:52. So that is a little slower than the average would be looking at the others. And then a total moving time of 2 hours, 42 minutes, and 38 seconds. These are solid first week of a training plan numbers. I'm excited to see what these numbers look like as we move forward. And for those of you who have already peeked ahead, I think next week is going to be very fun. But first, we have to hit quote of the week. Head back over to the desk. I'll be here waiting, and I'll see you in a second. Welcome to our quote of the week segment. I'm sure you've just come from listening to me ramble on about my 4 runs from this past week. And now I think is an opportunity to take a step back and look at one particular run or the entire week as a whole. A bit of both in this case for this episode. But for my quote of the week this week, I want to just go ahead and put it out there. Is primarily focused on that Thursday run, the 2 miles run that ended up turning into over 5. But I think this can also apply to any run that we do and any time we decide to get out and be active. And it's a quote from Mother Teresa that reads, "The miracle is not that we do this work, but that we are happy to do it." Yeah, that's pretty on the nose. I feel like I don't think there's a whole lot of necessarily nuance to it or explaining. I wouldn't be doing any of this, making these videos, doing any of these runs, spending the last, almost 8 months focusing on this spreadsheet and these runs and getting out and doing them all if I wasn't happy to do it, if I didn't enjoy it. It's important to remember that we do this because we like it, and we do it because we want to do it, not because anyone is forcing us to do it. If someone is forcing you to do it, then I think there's a chance there to reevaluate your relationship with that person, because this is something that, you shouldn't be forced to do anything you don't want to. And once you find something that you are happy to do, there is no question as to whether or not you'll do the work. So that was a very brief, very quick, very to the point quote of the week. I hope you found it as insightful, and it was an opportunity to take a step back that I had this week, both when it being the beginning of a new training plan, as well as for the first time in a while going out for a run and doing what I wanted to do and what I felt like doing rather than what I felt like I should do based on numbers on a spreadsheet or on a list. And so if you enjoy doing it, remember why you enjoy doing it, and it won't feel like work at all. I think now you're going to be heading back over to the calendar to take a look forward to the second week of the marathon training. So let's head back over there. I think, if I remember correctly, it is a very interesting week, both in schedule and in content. So please enjoy that. I hope you enjoyed that quote of the week. I think it was definitely a good one. And if you can believe it, we're now going to move ahead to looking forward to what will be the last full week of August and the second full week of our next training plan. it feels, and I feel like I've said this obviously about every 2 or 3 episodes, clearly, that I can't believe it's already almost the end of August. I think August has flown by, and I am starting to realize that, this thing is getting closer and closer, and it's starting to feel a little more real as we start to creep up, both in these workout numbers as well as the calendar itself. But let's hop into this coming week and what is in store for me. Let's look ahead. So another 4 runs this week, and the schedule has already been shaken up once again. No more run on Monday. That is now a rest day following the 6 miles from Sunday of the previous week. We then move into Tuesday, where we have, and take a step back. I have decided to redesign the naming standards I want for these. If it's an interval run, I would like to put the intervals that I'm supposed to run, rather than, I think previously it has just been 5 mile interval, 3 by 2 or 10 by 2 on 1 minute off. So this not only changes it in a distance wise, but also in a structure wise. Whereas before I was struggling to come up with a warm up and cool down section timings, as well as balancing those out. This, I think, does a better job of explaining exactly the distances that I'm going to be run. And to be fair, these do list them more in distances rather than times. And so it definitely is a lot more helpful as someone who is trying to figure it out on the fly, if we'll say. So Tuesday, we have 5 mile interval run with a 1 mile jog warm up, and then a 2 by 1.5 mile quick with a 1/4 mile recovery in between, and then finally a 1 mile cool down. I definitely prefer these types of intervals because it puts definite destination and mileage markers on it, and it is much easier for me, at least, to do intervals like this rather than time, because I become so focused on looking at my clock that I kind of get taken out of it. And so by doing it in distances, it is much easier just to zone out and wait for the interval splits being put through my headphones, and it definitely makes it a lot easier. So for this, 2 stretches of 1.5 miles quick, and then with a 1/4 mile in between, I'm looking forward to it. This will be the longest intervals I think I've done so far. I think the longest I've done before this was 10-minute stretches where I would do a mile plus. But this is going to be the first one where the intervals, also only two intervals, with a 1 mile warm up and a 1 mile cool down. And then, so it'll be very interesting. And it will move us into Wednesday, our second back-to-back in a long time, during the week at least, where we move into 4 miles easy. So once 4 miles in 45 minutes, so a little more than 10-minute miles. I think that totally doable. We'll see how I feel after Tuesday with that interval run. But 4 miles easy. Looking forward to it. I'll probably take that nice and consistent. Not worry about pacing too much, and I'll make sure I hit the time. But I'm not too worried about pacing on that one. And that moves us into our finale of the back-to-back-to-back. We have another interval run. We have a 1 mile jog, a 2 miles at tempo with a goal of 9 minutes per mile, and then a 1 mile cool down. So we have another 4 miles, but in tempo form, where for 2 miles, my goal is to run at a 9 minute per mile pace. Boy, my fastest pace I think I've ever shot for on even 2-3 mile runs. I think the fastest I've ever achieved is an 8 minute and 46 second per mile pace across the entire run. So this will definitely be interesting, especially coming in as the 3rd day in a back-to-back-to-back running days. I am slightly nervous about this, but the fact that I'm going to use the phrase just 4 miles, I think will help. The 1 mile warm up is definitely going to be focused entirely on warming up. And definitely the cool down will probably feel very good after trying to imagine it'll probably feel like I'm sprinting for 2 miles, but I think that one's going to be one to keep an eye on, and I'm very interested to looking back. I'm already looking forward to episode 15, where I get to look back at this week and talk about that one, because I think that one is going to be very, very interesting. Then, because of the nature of the back-to-back-to-back, and then get 2 days rest, Friday and Saturday, we'll get off, probably just recovering from the previous 3 runs. So that's going to be what it's going to be. And we finish off the week with 7 miles easy. The goal of running 7 miles in 80 minutes. This one, depending on how I feel, will either be... Actually, no. I was going to say this will be what it's going to be, because it's only 7 miles, as I've said in the past. But no, I have noticed when I've come to my Sunday runs that it's been harder and harder to get back into the zone of doing a longer run. And what I mean by that is I'll look at last week as an example. From looking back, it was 6 miles where I ran it as if my run was 6 miles, not as if my run was 10, 15 miles. And in the past, I've also had long runs on Sunday where I didn't make it because I either wasn't prepared or X, Y, or Z. My goal for this week and for this run is to approach this 7 miles as if I was going to be running 14 miles. Because I think it's been so long since I've done an actual long run. I think it's been almost at least 3 weeks since I've done a 10 plus mile run, and considered it, successful. And so I'm going to approach this 7 miles as if I was going to be running 14, and we'll see how that goes. I think I just need to remind my brain and my body what it is like to get out for an extended period of time and put in the mileage necessary, because it has been a while and I need to start flexing those muscles again. But that is the plan for that. This is the plan for this week. Very different than any training plan we've had a week before. We've had interval runs, but not 2 in the same week. We've had, tougher, easier-ish weeks when mileage-wise, and I think this is going to be one of those where the mileage won't necessarily look as impressive as some of them have in the past. But when you look at the details of, 3 runs in 3 days, and then also including the intervals themselves, it's going to be a very fun week, and I cannot wait to get started. But I think that's going to wrap up my looking ahead. We'll send it back to the desk. We'll wrap this up, and you guys can be on your way. Thank you for looking ahead with me. Let's send it back to the desk. And with that, it draws episode 14 to a conclusion. We had a very fun week this previous week, and I think we're going to have an even more fun week coming up. I hope you enjoyed this episode, as well as all of the episodes that we've put out. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up down below. It really helps me out, and I know I always get a little ping of happiness and enjoyment seeing the number of likes on the video go up. I hope you all had a great week previously, and I hope you all have a great week going forward. If you are following a training plan or doing anything on your end, please let me know down in the comments below. I definitely enjoy reading the comments that I do get, and I would love to have more discourse going on down there. If you like this content and have routinely come back and are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing and sticking around. I put these out every Monday, and I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I'm always working on adding new content to this channel and coming up with ideas. I have a couple of ideas percolating in the back of my head, and hopefully we'll be debuting those soon. I think I may just need to pick a date and shoot for a release date, because obviously just saying that I'm always looking for new content is not making new content. And I do want to start bringing more content to you guys and to this channel. So please consider subscribing, leave a comment down below, give a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching episode 14. Have a great week. Go out, smash it. And, I'll see you guys next week.